Hi, my name is Jessica Ball, and these are my team members behind me. This is Sophia Cato, this is Brittany Gross, and this is Marissa Douglas. This past semester, we've worked on a project concerning human sex trafficking, and we've come to call it Human Trafficking in a City Near You. It addresses MSU's 3 pillars of public affairs, and we'll talk about that later on. Human sex trafficking is defined as an occurrence in which an individual is induced by force, fraud, or coercion into a sex act, or in which the person is under 18 and induced to act. A lot of times it will be a person under 18 that is brought into human sex trafficking. This happens all across the globe, and there are 20 million cases reported each year. That's reported. So there are many more cases that go unreported, and it's a problem here in the United States and in Springfield, Missouri. We decided to raise awareness about human trafficking. Increased awareness prevents individuals from becoming victims, and it builds community support for government actions. Also, it helps people to readily identify potential victims and take action. Our first plan of action involves social media. On January 29th, our Facebook page went live, and it's called Human Trafficking in a City Near You, just like our project. It was and is aimed at bringing awareness about human trafficking, and since it went live, we've had over 200 likes, and we've posted information about human trafficking, such as at the Super Bowl.
All right, as we posted on this page, we researched about sex trafficking. On March 6th, we posted a survey, and 85 people responded to the survey. One question in the survey was, what is the average age at which human trafficking occurs? The correct answer was 11 years, and as you can see, over half the respondents answered correctly. Another question was, in what country do you think human trafficking is most prominent? The correct answer was China, but most people responded Mexico. We also found it interesting that the answers were split 42-43 in response to the true-false statement that most people involved in sex trafficking try to escape. In reality, most people do not try to escape. Some of the survey was multiple choice, and some was written answer. One question was, what do you think human trafficking entails, or what comes to mind? Here are some of the answers. Prostitution, adults using children, females especially, to provide favors for money, and sex slaves.
So after the survey, we wanted more feedback, so we conducted multiple interviews with Springfield residents as well as a police officer and a victim of human trafficking. So we created a video, which is a compilation of the interviews and the research we conducted.
Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about police officer Jeff Rodiger and Katie Rhodes, the victim, that were both featured on the video. So Officer Rodiger is part of the St. Louis County Police Department in the Special Investigations Unit, part of the FBI task force involving crimes against children. His job was to find these underage victims and rescue them, and he did this primarily by using Backpage.com, which, if you saw on our video, we scrolled through. Those were all prostitution happening here in Springfield. But he would find them on Backpage, and he would book a date with them and perform a sting operation. And the oldest girl he's ever rescued was 51, and the youngest he's ever rescued was 12. So once he goes to the hotel and he calls them out that way and he has them in his custody, the next step is the prosecution of the pimp, which can be very difficult because lots of times the girls will lie and they'll cover up for the pimp because they're so scared. And in that situation, the pimp gets off free and the girl will take the hit for him. Sometimes they're able to find the pimp, and they do this in various ways. He's used fake text messages sent to the pimp from the girl saying, this guy's crazy, he's locked me in the bathroom, I need help, and the pimp will come looking for her, and he will catch them that way. Once he has the pimp, 2 things could happen. It could become a federal case, and the pimp will get 10 to 20 years of jail time, or it could become a Class C felony, which is very minimal jail time, maybe just a year. And in order for it to become a federal case, he has to prove that force, fraud, and coercion was used, meaning violence, kidnapping, blackmail, and lying and deceit. The problems with the prosecution is that the girls tend to not want to talk or testify against the pimps. Like I said, they're terrified. These pimps have blackmailed them. They said they'll tell them, like, I know where your family is. And the other problem is, unfortunately, the criminal justice system doesn't move as fast as we would like it to. It can take up to 2 years to get these cases to court. So the investigations unit has to keep in contact with these girls for that entire time in order to build a strong case. Most of them are addicted to drugs, and they're scared of the pimp finding them, so they leave and they don't keep in contact, and then there's no case. U.S. Congresswoman Ann Wagner has passed a bill going after Backpages.com, and she's also working on getting money for organizations that help victims of human trafficking. A small percentage of these girls that are victims actually reach out and get help themselves. Most of them are referred to these organizations by law enforcement or concerned parents, or the organization actually going out on the streets themselves and looking for these girls. And they don't reach out because they are never left alone, they don't have a phone, and they're scared to leave because they came from nothing. And this pimp may not be treating them properly, but he's giving them more than what they had before. And they're afraid if they leave, they won't be able to make it on their own. Many of them suffer from Stockholm Syndrome, which is a psychological phenomenon that they feel empathy and sympathy for their captor. So this leads me to the story of Katie Rhodes. As the video said, she was homeless at the age of 18. She's from Portland, Oregon, and she was just a defiant teenager that had a poor relationship with her parents, and she was kicked out and living in her car. So she needed money, so she resorted to working in the strip club, and her idea was that she would work there, make some money, get on her feet, get an apartment, and then get out. But unfortunately, she was addicted to alcohol, and when she worked at the strip club, her addictions just became stronger and deeper. And one day when she was working, she was approached by the woman who told her about the production company, and that's when she went out to California and entered the game. And right when she got there, she couldn't just leave when she found out what was going on because she didn't have any money. The pimp took all of her contacts. She was never left alone, and she was basically just stuck. So when she was 19, at the end of 2001, she decided to run away. And the pimp had this pager that her parents could call, and when she wanted to talk to them, she could call them back from the pager when she was monitored by the pimp. And so she was left alone at a club, and she called her parents collect and said, Mom, like, I need to get out of here. Call the pager, tell him Dad's sick, tell him he's dying, I gotta get out. And it was true, her dad was sick, he had cancer. And so the pimp flew her home, and she got to see her dad, and she was home for about 3 months until her dad passed away. And then she decided she was gonna get her life back together, and she enrolled in school. And but she still had a poor relationship with her parents, so she wasn't wanting to live at home, and she needed money again. So she went back to the strip club, and she was working there, and the pimp showed up again and convinced her to go back with them. So as soon as she went back, she realized it was a mistake, and she spent the rest of her time there trying to get out. And when she was 21 in April 2002, she was left alone again, and she called a family friend who was a doctor, and they were able to rescue her and hide her out for about a week until they could get her into rehab. Luckily, this time Katie got into rehab, so she was able to get over her addiction, which was what kept bringing her back into the game, so she was able to get out for good. Unfortunately, at this time, human trafficking wasn't very well known. There wasn't a lot of awareness for it, and Katie was not looked at as a victim. She was looked at as a prostitute, and she felt a lot of shame and guilt, and that was exactly why it was so hard for her to reach out in the first place. the ignorance of the people that were trying to help her was what made it so hard for her to actually get help, which goes to show you how important awareness actually is. So Katie is now 33. She has her master's in social work, and she has founded Healing Action, and she speaks on many issues of human trafficking, and she's involved with corporate and nonprofit training. She trains these corporations to identify and properly report human trafficking. We live in a culture now where we just mind our own business, and when we see something suspicious, we tend to turn our head and think, that's not my problem. Well, don't be afraid to report suspicious acts that you see. Call those numbers on the video and share the video with your friends, and you never know, you could be saving someone's life someday. Thank you.